Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to the organizers for giving me this opportunity. So I'm going to be talking up this very interesting trial, so as we were discussing, once there is progression beyond IO, how do we overcome the resistance? So is there any way where we can overcome resistance by immune modulation and continue IO beyond progression? So this is the trial which, a part of the trial looked at this aspect of it. So a very new molecule, soluble LAG3 protein. I'll tell you about this molecule shortly. So they looked at combination of IO with this, let's call it immunomodulator, or it's very cutely called FT. So we can, if we can use FT with pembrolizumab in patients who have failed IO in metastatic NSCLC. So this is the actual trial, the TACTI-002 trial. TACTI stands for two active immunotherapeutics agent, because we are using at the same time immunotherapy with the immune modulator agent. So FT was combined with pembrolizumab, and there are three parts of it's a multi-part non-randomized open label international phase 2 trial. So part A looked at use of this combination in the first line. Patient population were unselected for PD-L1, and part B looked at its use after failure of immunotherapy, and part C looked at its combination or use of this combination in head and neck cancer. Now, I would like to tell you at this point that based on part A and part C results, already fast track designation has been given by FDA to this combination in both these settings. That is, already FT with Pembro is approved in first line NSCLC unselected population and also in second line head and neck. Now, moving on to our trial today. So what is this LAG3? Basically, it's already expressed normally, and it is present on CD4, CD8 T cells. It's a major ligand which binds to MHC class 2, and it is involved in immune modulation. So it is also involved in the pathogenesis of connective tissue diseases. So this is FT is first in class dimer. It's actually combination of a LAG3, soluble LAG3 with a human IgG. So this is the ultimate product, that is the FT product. So it binds to MHC class 2 molecule and causes activation of the dendritic cells. That is, causes activation of antigen presenting cells. And then the cascade starts. That is, ultimately it is activating the natural killer cells and the T cells. So FT's mechanism of action in terms of the author, it is the pushing the accelerator on immune responses. That is causing APC activation. Now, let us not get confused with anti-LAG3. That is a different it's a monoclonal antibody, and it would bring about different results. So here we are talking about FT, which is an APC activation, to put it simply. So what's the rationale in combining these two? So in the preclinical studies, already synergism has been exhibited. Apart from that, so it is acting upstream. Pembrolizumab or the other immunotherapy agents, they act they are already acting at the interface between the T cell and the tumor. This is acting before that, that is upstream. And then, so it might lead to an exaggerated T cell activation, it might lead to higher T cell recruitment, and thereby overcome the resistance. So finally, coming to the part B, that is the second line, use of this combination in the second line. That is, after failure of IO, at least patients should have received 2 cycles. The patients were not selected for PD-L1 expression, and so this is how the patients received this therapy. That is, earlier for first 1 year, they received combination of FT with pembrolizumab, and after completion of 1 year, Pembro alone is continued for 1 more year. So the primary endpoint was overall response rate, and secondary endpoints being PFS, other efficacy parameters, safety, tolerability. PD-L1 in the patients, it was assessed centrally using the 21C3 DECO platform, and imagings were repeated every 9 weeks. They also looked at safety and efficacy. Now, 2 times this data has been presented. First, they presented in, they analyzed the data at the cutoff of January 2022. Also in July 2022, they have analyzed the data. I'll be presenting the updated details too. So they've, now of these patients, in all 36 patients were there. In these, among all the 36 patients had obviously received IO at some point. Some IO they had received, of whom 72% patients had received it with combination with chemotherapy. And if you look at the PD-L1 expression, it was not available for 10%. Only in 20% patients it was more than 50. So almost 70% patients had less than 50 PD-L1 expression. In fact, 36% patients had less than 1% PD-L1 expression. And tumor resistance was, primary was in 30% and secondary in 66. So what is secondary resistance? Secondary resistance is where IO has shown at least some benefit after its use, and then the patient progresses. That is called as secondary resistance. So let's look at the results now. So two patients, that is 6% of the patients, showed partial response. Stable disease was seen in 30% patients. So this amounted to a disease control rate of 36% in the intent to treat population, and overall response rate of about 6% in the intent to treat population. Here the spider plot shows the durable responses. These two patients are still responding. At the January analysis, 6 patients were still being continued on therapy, and in July, 4 patients were still continuing their therapy and were responding. Here in the waterfall plot, you can see that the responses are durable. Of course, you do see many pinks, which is the progression. We do see the gray bars, which show the stable disease. The authors have also expressed the response in terms of tumor growth kinetics. No new safety signals were identified. The discontinuation rate was less than 10%. There were no mortality reported due to the use of the therapy. They have also elaborated the responses in those 2 patients. In words of the author, they have concluded that in view of good disease control rate of about 30% and early OS data showing 6-month OS of 73%, this seems to be a promising combination that can be used. This is the updated analysis. Like I was saying, median OS was found to be 9.7 months and 18 months OS of 36.5%. My take on this, yes, so after IO progression, we do not have many options. If something as simple as a subcutaneous injection can change the, can enable us to continue therapy for some more time, yes, we would want to do that. More, of course, phase 3 randomized trials are needed to understand. Thank you.